Live. Cool.
All right.
What time is it there?
It's 8 p.m.
It's 8 a.m. here. No, it's 9 a.m. I lie.
Yeah.
This is cool. I had Grace Walton on yesterday and you today, and I was able to drink a can of C4 yesterday when I had Grace on, and now I'm double barreling coffees now when you're on. I never get to drink, like usually it's 8 p.m.
What coffee do you drink?
I treated myself to a flat white today because I haven't had a flat white in about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not at work.
Yeah, right.
Talking to Jake, so I'll have a milky coffee. Usually I just have black coffee.
Yeah,
Do you
treat
drink coffee?
yourself. I do. I love coffee.
You're kind of spoiled there though, right? Like Australia's like, oh, this is dishwater, mate, and it's like the best coffee I've ever had.
Yeah. We I feel like we've got good coffee. Like anywhere you go, you can find a good cafe, and like we're a big breakfast cafe brunchy type nation. I feel.
Do you have your own machine and stuff at home? Are you that into it?
Yeah.
What have you got?
Yeah, I got like a Breville, so we like get the bean sent, and then it just sort of does it all for you once you set it.
Oh, it's like a bean cup. One of those. That's what.
Yeah, a little bean thing at the top, and it grinds it through, and then you just you run away with it.
That's cool. Yeah, Breville. I think, as far as I understand it, because I have a Sage, and as far as I understand, Breville and Sage are the same. Sage is called Sage in Europe, and it's called Breville everywhere else. America, Australia, everywhere.
Yeah, right.
So it's just a pointless fact that's no use to anyone. That just came into my head there.
Good. I'll remember that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be important.
Yeah.
I was watching you on Savannah's behind the scenes the other week.
Yeah.
And there's a few things I want to talk to you about it. So there's one part you obviously get like spoilers if anyone hasn't seen it. You obviously get cut from the games last year, and you got like quite emotional when you were talking to him afterwards. So like, I think if you're a CEO member, you'll have seen this. If you're not, you'll have to wait another 3 or 4 days, I think, for this episode to come out. But like, you were very upset, understandably, like, because you got cut. But I feel like usually when someone gets cut, they maybe are grumpy or they're like annoyed by it or irked by it or whatever. But you were like emotionally upset by it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Yep.
Why was that the response, do you think? Why were you emotional about it and not just like angry or?
Oh, it was just like I had a bunch of things, like I had 2 months away from the kids and my wife, and so that was all sort of tough, and I'd put kind of some pressure on myself to make it worthwhile, and then got to the games and just wasn't well, and like had some heat problems, and yeah, it was really upsetting that I kind of felt like I spent all this time away, and then I didn't get to show, or I didn't get a true reflection of where my fitness was at. Can you hear my kids in the background?
Someone's murdering one of your kids there, yeah.
No, that's them having a good time. Yeah.
Wow. How many kids have you got?
2.
What age are they?
Johnny's 2.5, and Frankie just turned 6.
Is it 2 boys?
Nah, girl. Frankie's a girl.
Frankie's a girl. Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. How's that?
Sorry. So they may barge in and they may yell out, but it won't be far off bed.
If my kids were here, they'd be doing the exact same thing, so it's fine.
Great.
What age did you say they were? Sorry, 4, 6, and 2.
6, 2.5.
Right. Okay. And the boy is a 2.5-year-old.
Yep.
And is he like because there's a similar-ish gap there. So I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and we have another one coming. And I'm curious, is every parent who has a girl child first and then a boy child going through the same thing that we're going through, where like our daughter's like, I'm going to exaggerate just for the sake of emphasis, but she's an emotional terrorist. And then he's a physiological terrorist. Like he deals in the physical realm. She deals in the psychological realm. So she will make you feel bad. She will like say things that are hurtful, or like, not all the time.
Yeah,
Sometimes she's fucking amazing. Whereas he'll just fucking wreck the place constantly. Like
yeah,
everything, just destroy everything. If someone's building a tower, that shit's coming down. If
yeah. Like
like,
she'll be building blocks, and he'll just walk in and like kick them over for no reason.
okay,
Yeah, it's like
that's good. I'm
yeah.
reassured by that it's not
That's,
just
no, you hit
that's
the nail on the head. I do think that it's like maybe it's not girl boy thing. I think maybe it's like eldest youngest type deal. It's like the younger he hasn't got the intelligence to match it with her, so he just
yeah.
tries to recruit
But
her.
you see, I think that's a girl boy thing. I think the lack of
Yeah,
intelligence. I think girls
yeah,
are born with more intelligence, more like social intelligence, or just cop on. Whereas boys are born with, like, they're physiologically, just going by R2, she was incapable of doing anything physical, like climbing up on a couch or something, forget it. Whereas he's like, he'll climb a tree, and like, he shouldn't be able to. But she'll, like, delicately pet a dog, whereas he'll go in like, hands like,
right. Like gouge the eyes. Yeah,
yeah, just doesn't have. He's just fucking, yeah.
yeah,
That has reassured me that it's not just him. Um,
yeah.
so how long? So you were away from then? Then when you, so the games are in August, and you went to Vermont first, right?
Yeah, we went early, and the plan was to bring the kids over, but just like the cost of it and where we were at, like we were having some difficulty trying to logistically get them over
Mm.
there and the travel and where they were going to stay. And because everything was so last minute for me, like it was really difficult to try and like bring them along. And then at the end of the day, it was kind of Ellen and I were like, how we can't do this. Like we don't have the help. We don't have the finances. Like we don't have the knowledge of the place to
Mm.
actually bring them over and do it in such short time. Um,
So is the
so yeah, so
plan,
that was like I really struggled.
the ideal plan would have been that they were in Vermont too? Is that the,
Yeah, that would have been it, but
okay?
we couldn't afford it. And at the time, it was like I knew Matt and O'Keefe before going to Vermont. I'd met them before, but I'd never met like in person Steve and Jake and Josh, and obviously there was Kat and Jason there as well. And it was kind of like I didn't want to just bring my family into this environment that I hadn't necessarily been in. I didn't
Yeah,
know the location of where I was staying, if it was like in the ghetto or if it was a nice part of town, or there were a lot of things, that
yeah,
was too challenging to bring everyone over at once.
yeah.
So I got there, and then when we realised what the cost of living was and how hard that flight would have been with two young kids for Ellen, and so yeah, it was kind of really tough. It was a tough pill to swallow, and I really struggled with it. Like honestly, any other camp but those guys at that gym, I probably would have come home and just been like, "Fuck this." Like
So were you homesick during the month or whatever when you were there? Yeah.
like on and off, man. Like we trained so much that like when I'm at the gym, it was hard not to be homesick. But then through rest days or get home at night, and you know what it's like being a dad or having the kids around, you just get used to the noise and the chaos and the things to do. And I just felt like a very selfish
Yeah.
human doing what I was doing. And don't get me wrong, like it got me fit, and I wish I could have showed what we'd worked on for the few months, but yeah, that was mentally that was a real struggle.
But it's hard as well though, because like, time zones make it even worse, because I know when I was in America, you're kind of, it's like 2 p.m. or something. Well, it's probably different for Australia, but like 2 p.m. when I was in Madison was like bedtime for the kids, and that's like the busiest time of day there. So you're like trying to find a quiet corner for 5 minutes somewhere to say goodnight or whatever, and then the largest portion of your day, they're asleep or they're doing stuff or whatever, and you like, evening time is probably your biggest time to have time to talk, and they're asleep. Do you know what I mean? So you kind of, when you're on opposite ends, it makes it harder, and then that exacerbates the guilt, makes you feel worse, because it's like, oh,
Yeah,
she's having to do bedtime on her own, or she's having to do whatever on her own, and even if it is irrational, even if it is like, if it has been spoken about, it's like, you need to go and do this. This is great. It still doesn't erode any of that feeling of like, oh, I just feel shit about not being there. And it's not even like, I know I like, guilt is the wrong word, because guilt makes it seem like you're doing something wrong, or that you're shit when you're at home. I make an extra effort when I am around, to be as present as possible and as helpful and
yeah,
useful as possible and stuff. So I don't feel like guilty when I'm away, but there is it's kind of not, it's like FOMO or something, or like that you want to do stuff but you can't do stuff, you want to help but you can't help, kind of.
Yeah, I know. For me, like it was definitely a feeling of guilt. I just had massive dad guilt. I was just like, I can't believe I'm doing this, and I've left them there. And yeah, I just, and like Frankie on the phone to me, like, come home, Dad. I was like, oh, it's not that easy, So yeah, that was
Yeah.
tough, man. That was
Thanks,
yeah,
Frankie.
I was on struggle street from before the comp kicked off.
Did they? Where are you based? What city are you based in?
I'm in Australia.
Yeah.
So I'm in a little town called Tamworth. We're like 6 or 5 hours from Sydney, inland.
Okay. And did the family go with you to Torian then?
Yep. They all came to Torian. They were there, and then yeah. So we do like they come to me pretty much. They come with me everywhere. I think I've only done one other comp without them, or two other comps without them, but majority they're like at least there with me in the city.
Yeah. Does that not add stress though? Like, say when it's all on the line and you're going into the final day, and then one of your kids is waking up during the night or whatever.
Yeah, so we stay in separate rooms for that weekend of Torian and stuff like that. So
Okay.
like I'll stay with like my business partner, and Elle will stay like my mum or her mum or someone will stay with her and the kids. So we stay in the same venue. I'll have dinner and stuff like that, and then when I need to come off grid for a second, yeah, that's my little girl there. I'll duck back to my room.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, it
cool. I
makes it
mean, it's
expensive, obviously, but like it's worth it.
yeah, that's cool. I like that. How long had you been with HWPO before Torian, say?
Officially, I was
Yeah.
only jumped on maybe like December.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was
What were you doing before then? Just your own kind of thing, or what?
yeah, I was pretty much like I followed Mayhem for a while. Just like they're on Sugarwood. I've kind of had a progression though. I've nearly done not every platform, but I feel like through my time of competing, I followed TTT for a while and I had a great coach there. And then as I sort of progressed, I wanted like someone that was in Australia. So I had Bobby D for quite a number of years, like from Raw Strength.
That's he used to coach Brent, didn't he? That's like
Yep.
Jessica Cochran. Yeah, okay.
Brent and James Newbury. Like Bobby's
Yeah.
had Rob's touched a fair few games athletes. He's a mastermind, bro. He's really cool.
Yeah.
And then after sort of that, I wanted just to have a bit more freedom and not necessarily have a coach for a while. So I just followed like Mayhem or things online, coached myself. And then come December, I kind of needed help with some program. I knew I was going to be close. I just got second at Down Under.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted some guidance, and I'd been in touch with O'Keefe back and forth to help me with kind of a number of things. And yeah, just as we got talking, I was like, I might actually jump onto HWPO, and that sort of got me talking to Steve, and yeah.
It all went downhill from there then once Steve got involved. So how long have you been doing CrossFit then?
A while, man. I stopped playing footy I found CrossFit in high school. So that was in like 2007 or something. But
Fucking
back then,
hell.
bro, yeah, we were like doing fight bomb bads like in the school thing, and it might have been like, well, we've got no sumo, like no barbell, let's do bicep curls for a minute, shit like that. So that's when we found, and I just followed .com. If I saw a workout I could do, if random things would pop up there, like 4 rounds of 50 air squats, 400 run. So we'd just go down the back paddock and hit it, and that'd be like some fitness, I guess, and then we'd go to the gym.
Why did you stop playing football?
To chase CrossFit in the end. So I played back and forth. I lived in Scotland for a couple of seasons, and I was doing that. I moved to Sydney for a while. Some family stuff brought me back, and yeah, we came back from Scotland, and I had full intentions to go back overseas, but Ellen had just been accepted to university for a nursing.
Okay.
So instead of continuing to chase that rugby thing, I was like, I guess I'll just, keep plumbing, open up a gym, and Elle can chase hers. Like she traveled the world with me playing rugby for a while. So it's got to be her turn, if that makes sense.
So someone sent in a comment saying it's Joel Edgerton.
I get that.
Yeah, but it is actually remarkable.
Yeah, Joel, I can little
So like
stuff
that's you,
like
right? And then there's Joel, this side.
that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable, especially his warrior era.
Yeah.
It's like you could have been a double for him. You're probably a bit too big.
I'm waiting for the call up, man. Joel, I'm available.
Yeah, he's going to need to go on a bulk. That's the only problem.
Or I can go on I'm easy.
Yeah, I don't know if you could. I feel like there's a limit to how small you could get. I just feel like there's a threshold that you're just not going to get past. It'll just be like
100%. That's felt like that in the past, and I've tried to lose weight. It's just like I get to a point. It's just this is me. It's just where I sit.
When you say football, do you mean like
Rugby union?
Okay, right. Okay, I thought you meant what do you call? I call it Aussie rules. What do you call?
So we call I would call Aussie rules AFL because of where I live in Australia. Like we're in the East Coast, so like rugby league is the predominant force on the East Coast. I guess it's slowly changing, I think. But yeah, so I grew up playing rugby league, and then I made the change to rugby union.
And rugby. So tell me the difference between the two of them. Rugby league is you're stopped and restart every time. There's no rucks, basically.
That's right. Yeah. So it's like more one-on-one tackles. You only get 6 tackles, and then you need to get rid of the ball, and just continues on back and forth. Whereas rugby union, you have unlimited touches, and you can have the ruck and the contest for the ball.
Yeah. So rugby union is your classic, like New Zealand versus Ireland or whatever. Like, yeah. Okay. And were you always big?
Pretty much. As soon as I hit puberty, bro. Like as soon as I hit puberty, I started like getting bigger. I was quite a small kid.
Yeah.
But I've been in the gym since I was like 14. I think I had my first gym membership. Before that, Dad always had weights in the garage. So I was like, I can't remember a time I didn't do weights.
Yeah. I love it. As soon as I hit puberty, I'm just picturing like Tom Hanks and Big. Like you just woke up one morning, you're like, oh fuck. Because like, I'm sure you're well used to hearing it, but once you qualify for the games, there was just constant like, oh, steroids, definitely juicing, like that, just straight away, and then consistently until after the games, basically. Is that like? I suppose it's kind of there's 2 responses. There's a few different responses you could have, but like one of the responses would be thanks, like thank you for assuming that I have to juice to get this big or this good or whatever. Appreciate that. It's not true, but thanks, whatever. This second one is to get like angry or like, to start arguing or, just let it piss you off or whatever. And then I suppose the third one is to say like, yep. Like, yeah, like Paisley, have needles hanging out of my arms. You got me. What's your response? Is that just so passé to you now? You're just so used to hearing it?
Yeah, it's like some days it still pisses me off. It used to really get to me like in the early days. Because I've copped it like my whole career. I can remember playing footy and people yelling it out to me. So it's nothing like new to me. I've always copped that kind of abuse. But I guess just over time, it's like on a bad day, I might like hit someone back or something with some facts but like at the end of the day, like if I'm what the definition of impossible to someone is, like they need to look at themselves more than, blast me for it. Like I'm not actually that impressive. Like when you see me in real life, I don't think I'm as big as what people think I am when they see my Instagram. Like,
yeah, I don't know, man. I met you in Madison. You're a pretty large. You're a pretty large chap. I feel like this is the area that causes most comments and most like it's
traps and delts.
Yeah. You said that your dad had stuff at home, like gym stuff at home. So you just out constantly just doing shrugs for like 10 years, and that's the explanation.
Yeah. No, man, I think just the nature of the sports that I've played too, like I definitely did a lot of shrugs. from between like 15 and 25, like shrugs and power cleans were like a couple of times a week. Just because like neck strength is so big in like for rugby in the positions that I was playing. Like I was quite young coming into playing. Like I can remember playing against men at sort of 17. So like I really needed that neck strength and the position I played hooker when I first came in like first grade.
Yeah.
And as a 17, 18-year-old guy playing against 35-year-old men, I might have been big, but I wasn't a man yet, So
Is it hard for you to move as well as you move? Like, is it like, does it get in the way? Like, is it all like at times is it a disadvantage, do you think?
yeah, I think it's a massive disadvantage. Like, especially when you start to like, because the more muscle mass you hold, the harder it is for you to move oxygen around your body as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
so whilst there's pros to being like strong and bigger and powerful, I think there's more cons to it in CrossFit. Like you look at most of the more successful CrossFitters are not necessarily built like me. They're sort of leaner, maybe a little bit longer. Yeah, I just think there's more cons to it, to be honest. Like in CrossFit, in contact sport, of course, it's like a massive advantage that the bigger you are.
And when
But
you
yeah,
start, so when you started with, have any of those coaches, like say the training think tank, or like Bobby or Steve or anyone, has anyone been like, all right, we need to change your physical shape? Like, has anyone tried to adjust it or anything?
not so much early. I think it was like when I first got a coach, which was think tank. It was like, let's just see how fit we can make you. Like, let's just
Yeah.
figure it out what structured training looks like. And then sort of in the time with Rob, I think it was very much the same, like trying to build that endurance base. And like I've sort of constantly seen progression there whilst it's been really slow. Yeah, and then we spoke about it after the games of like, let's try and drop some weight and let's try and do that. But then like, it's also really hard energy wise to get training in and things like that. And as it gets closer to the open now, it's kind of like, well, we're nearly in season. I can't really have low energy availability right now because that's so much closer to sickness and your immune system's shot and you can't get the training in and you're more prone to injury and things like that. So yeah, I've spoken about it a couple of times with a couple of different coaches, but
It's probably the
yeah,
sort of thing where you like, because of the nature of the sport that you're in, and because of like sponsor obligations, like you want to keep a touch point on competition in the off season, and you also don't want to bomb a competition because you're undernourished or whatever. But like, you can probably only lose a very small amount. Like, you're looking at probably a 5-year project. Do you know what I mean? You can probably only lose a
yeah,
small amount every year. Like, you can only cut so much, really.
yeah, that's right. And my date of birth doesn't really allow a 5-year plan at the moment. That's like that's a bit. But I've dropped weight since the game, so I'm like 5 kilos or 6 kilos lighter than my games weight now.
Very good.
Yeah, which is like massive. It's nearly taken a weight vest off of running
Do
and
you
things
do you
like
feel it? So obviously you feel it in like running and gymnastics and stuff, but do you also feel
Oh,
it in like back squats and cleans and stuff?
yeah, not so much. I haven't noticed it in my ollie too much. One, I don't really do it that often to really get a gauge on how it used to feel. But the lifts, like back squat, deadlift, strict press, yeah, man, like it's crazy the difference that a couple kilos makes.
Is it hard for the ego?
Nah, I honestly don't care. Like, I would rather a fifth place in an endurance event than a first place in a strength event. I do not care. Like, I'll take the points if they're there, but I
Yeah.
really I tell like people think that I'm way stronger than I am anyway. Like, if there was, I wouldn't have won the deadlift event at Rogue.
Yeah.
Like that I just no way I would have pulled that. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm a good ollie lifter. I've just done it for a long time, but yeah, my numbers aren't crazy huge anyway.
Um this was probably your big moment at Torian, right? Like your lift.
Oh, the snatch, yeah, yeah. I think that I was happy with Linda, but I guess this one probably got more media attention.
Yeah, more God, you could have at least fucking celebrated. Like you could have at least like given a little fist bump or something.
It's not me, man. Hey, I'm not a beat my chest kind of guy. Like honestly, sometimes I wish I was. Like Johnny's
Like your
looking
face
cool.
at the end is like once you drop the bar, it's as if you've been no rep. It's just like, oh, okay, I'll just do it again then. It's just like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
well, I remember that moment, and I was like, right, that's good, but now the real thing is like making sure I don't have a mistake on my touch and go snatches and
Yeah.
get home for the run. You know.
Um the yeah, Lindo's impressive as well. You just
Yeah, that
don't
was my favorite. I did Linda in my first regionals, which was like my first official regionals was 2018. And
wow.
I did that workout, and Royce and I were in the same heat, and like Royce dusted me, but I started way too hot and just made a bunch of rookie mistakes. And yeah, I've always wanted to hit Linda again in comp after that, just to show, I guess, that I'd learned how to pace and like to show myself what I could do with it.
Were you so regional 2018? So that's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So 6 years between making regionals and then going to the games. Was this year different than those other years? Like, were you as dedicated through all those times? Obviously, so in one of those years you had a child, and another one of those years you had another child. So I'm assuming they were like outliers out of those six. But in those other years, do you think that like did you dial things in more this year, or was it just the right time? Like, did things just click better?
I think I really dialed it in before the 2022 season. So I came fifth at Torreon in 2022. And I think I only had one finish outside the top 10 that year at regionals.
Yeah.
And I remember before committing to that season, like I'd done a few comps, I came like 20th, and it was always my endurance that would let me down. Like I would win events or come top three, and then I would get dusted in, nearly come dead last in a run or something like that. So I knew something had to change. And at the time, I was also weightlifting. Like I was on the Australian weightlifting team. So I went sort of that progression all the way through to 2019. I subluxed my elbow, getting ready for a comp in Samoa. So that pulled me out of that. And then it was like, I can't muscle up, handstand walk. I can't do any sort of CrossFit for a few months. It's like, I'll just go back and play some footy for the end of the year. And then I tore my ACL. So, yeah, I went from like sanctionals and Australian weightlifter to like sitting on my porch, probably, 29, thinking that this is probably the end of the run, I guess, athletically. And then, I just sort of rehabbed really well. Thought I was coming back, blew my knee out again, so I had a second surgery. And then it was after that one, it was like I pretty much stopped. And then I realized I really want to do it. So I was like, got the right help. And then I guess I sat down with Ella and we made a plan. Let's just go all in and see what 2022 has to offer. Because this is like from 19 to 22 was a couple of years of rehab.
Mm.
And yeah, it just so happened that I got to Torreon and came fifth, and that gave me a really good sense of like, okay, I can actually do what I think I can do if I don't drop the ball,
So right, there's a lot to unpack there. So weightlifting, how did you get involved with weightlifting to that level? Because a lot of people do like weightlifting, they might do like a local comp or something, but like how did you get up to where
Yeah,
you
so I
were?
knew a guy, there was a CrossFitter that I knew that was like coming to town. He'd just moved to Sydney, or he was going back and forth, and he was like enjoying CrossFit, but he was a weightlifter. And he introduced me to his weightlifting coach, who was Marty Harlow, his name was. He was based in Sydney, so I travelled down to Sydney and hit a few lifts, and he's like, hey, like your numbers and your weight class, like you could make a real push for this. Like you could make it. You could lift nationally and internationally if you wanted to. If you put into it. So then it was like I was trying to balance them both for a while, and they just, for what I needed in CrossFit, I couldn't continue to do that. Like whilst my weightlifting numbers were going up, but it was making my endurance stuff so much worse.
And what did you say you did to your elbow?
It's like subluxed it. So like I pushed the, I think it was a radius past the humerus, like as I like extended up for a snatch. So it just went out but came back in. So like the bone just like slipped past. So I didn't actually dislocate it. It just,
Fuck.
yeah, man, it was so scary. Like, and I remember I
What
did it.
can you remember what was on the bar?
Oh, no, it was light, man. It was warm up. Like I was warming up. I
Jeez.
think it might have
Probably
only been,
lucky. In fairness, probably lucky.
yeah, yeah. I think it was 50 kilos. And I was going up to see Bobby D. It was when Jess Coughlin, I think she was competing individually for the game, so I was doing a few trips to go and train with her.
Mm.
And yeah, I remember driving up, and my elbow by the next day had like swollen right up, and I'd gotten to Rob, and I was like, "Hey, I can't really move this thing. What do you think?" And he got me straight in to see someone, and yeah, that was it.
Fuck, that's nuts.
Mm.
That's just insane. So you did you when you so when you do that, are you like, do you just think like, oh, that was weird, I hurt my elbow? Or are you aware that your arm got shorter and then longer again? Do you know what I mean? Like how
No,
like
I just thought I'd hurt my elbow. Like I didn't really know what happened because it
yeah,
just
because
kind
the
of like,
thought process between that happening and then saying, right, I have to go to Bobby D's now to train, like that, the logic there's no logic in that
I
stream
know,
of
no
consciousness.
logic. But that's like through my whole career of contact sport. It's like you don't think it like I think about it differently now because I've been doing this individual sport for so long.
Yeah.
But back then it was like you just injuries happen, you just deal with it, you just work through it. Like it's just probably a niggle or probably just subluxed your elbow.
That's crazy. I've never heard of that. I've heard of like dislocations and stuff. I've never heard of that happening.
Yeah.
So then you did your ACL, so you went back playing rugby, you did your ACL,
Yeah.
and then got surgery on it.
No, I
Did you
tried
tear
to,
it or rip it or what? Like,
yeah, rupture, full
oh
rupture.
fuck, okay.
Yeah, and then I tried to go non-surgical because it was like, all right, well, if I just don't play field sport, I could potentially still be able to compete next year. And we went like 3 or 4 months, and it was coming along really well. And I took Frankie down to the beach, and you know like the little sinkholes that are in the water, like
Yeah.
just treading it misstepped, and it just blew my knee out, and that completely flipped the meniscus then. So
Wow.
yeah, not fun.
So you needed surgery then.
Yep, and I got surgery then, and then I came back, and I can't remember if it was a clean and jerk or a snatch or something, but I was sort of like tracking along really well. And I think I went to a weightlifting comp and I hit a lift and re-tore my meniscus. So I had to get another surgery. So they shaved it, stitched it. Yeah.
Is the meniscus is the one that goes down the side, is it?
The meniscus, no, that's like the cushioning between the bones.
Okay, right, okay.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
don't necessarily need it, but it really helps.
Yeah, yeah. It helps you to stay pain free or whatever.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is crazy. And what was the recovery time from that then?
So that was just unfortunate, the timing. Oh, no, actually, so from when I got the surgery, I only got surgery in October. So I had November, December, and then leading into that season is when I came fifth at Torian.
Wow. That's
Yeah, so I
crazy.
didn't. So I got a really big confidence boost from that season as a whole because I didn't start running, squatting, or doing a lot of things until like January, February. Like I'd only done, you know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks of squatting before the Open came around, and I was just really lucky on like events that started to get announced. It was like, oh, I did that a couple of weeks ago. I know I can do that movement,
Yeah.
and yeah, so
Were
I
you
was just
were you nervous? Did you trust your knee? Like, were you like, yeah, this is fine? Like, I know that you're probably looking out for certain movements and looking to avoid other movements, but like as the season progressed, were you like, I'm gonna get found out eventually, something's gonna happen, or were you trusting it?
yeah, I was really worried about it. Like the burpee box jump, we had a workout, and the first workout of the event at Torian that year was like it had burpee box jumps, overhead squats. It
Yeah.
had a 1,500 meter run in it, so I was like anxiety levels through the roof.
But it held together.
Yeah, it held together, and then it was like, well, that's as bad as it's going to get. And then the rest of the workouts, like one of them was basically just legless rope climbs, and
Yeah.
yeah, just sort of every other workout had something that I was decent at. So it was,
And do you fully trust it now? Or are you fully like no doubts at all?
yeah, I got no doubt. So I can like rebound box jumps again, but even that's only been like I think in Vermont when I got there was the first time I'd done rebound box jumps since the second surgery.
That's cool. Yeah, it's funny. Like, it's funny how useless you feel when something like that happens. Like, it's different for you, obviously, because your whole, you know, a lot of your identity is wrapped up in performance and stuff, and a lot of who you are, and like, if you, especially if you're going all in. But like, I hurt my knee a couple of weeks ago, and like getting in and out of the car, like just like I went down, those little toddler chairs, like table and chairs. My son was
Mm.
making something with magnetize this morning. I went in to sit down. I was like, "Oh, I'll sit down in the chair and I'll give him a hand." And I got about halfway down, and it took everything not to just be like "fuck" and stand up again. I was just like, "No, I can't sit down yet, buddy," and I just walked off. Like, but it's crazy. It's crazy how just shit you've become so quickly. Like something happens, you're just like, "Cool, I'm useless. It's like, I can't do anything."
Yeah. And like I remember doing that, and as I said, like I was like, I think I'd just come like 10th or something at one of the Asia sanctionals, and I was
Yeah.
about to represent Australia, and it felt like all these things were happening. And then I went and I was like, fucking couldn't do anything with my arm, and my knee was in a brace, and I was just sitting on a balcony, couldn't pick Frankie up, It was like
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
really. Then COVID hit. It was a great time. It was a real good time.
Yeah, it was a real mental challenge for like 2 years. Um,
Yeah.
Talk to me then about Steve. Uh, what was your knowledge of him before you started working with him? Because a lot of people outside of Europe, when they hear Steve Fawcett maybe a year ago, they'd be like, "Who?" Like, were you aware of who he was and what he had done himself, and like like what he had done with JST and done on his own and done with his team and stuff?
Yeah, so not so much athletically. Hey, I do remember the name, but I don't really remember him as an athlete so much. But I do remember JST, and I remember looking at JST a few times over the years, and just like, oh, this seems to be like growing or whatever. But yeah, never had much to do with him or anything. But sort of had a couple of FaceTimes, and then yeah, I just realized he's my dude. Hey, like we're very similar. We're not too far away in age.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's been where I'm at in life before, like if that makes sense. Like he's had the
Yeah.
kids and he's had the trials and tribulations and all these sorts of things. So it's a really there's like multi levels to that relationship with Steve, and like I honestly, man, if he's not the best coach in the world, I think he's like not far off it. He's got to be in the conversation.
Wow, that's high praise.
Man, honestly, like he's just like his people skills are one thing, and then like his knowledge base and level of caring and understanding. Like I think he just ticks so many boxes. Yeah.
It's crazy as well that he made semifinals. Like that he
Oh,
like competed in Europe is crazy.
I know, man. Yeah, he's a dude though. Like he made my time in Vermont like very very enjoyable. Like I get along with him well. It's a similar sense of humor, and yeah.
Yeah. I always find it interesting. Obviously, I suppose Matt and O'Keefe are used to him now. Because they worked together with Fitter and all that kind of stuff at the start. But now when I think of him, like when I think of Jason Hopper walking into a room with Steve in it or Katrin, and just trying to have a conversation with him, and the amount of confusion that there must be at the start of like, sorry, what? Like every time he says anything, it has to last like a month. Like it has to. I'm guessing that's why you all went to Vermont a month early, was just to get acclimatized to Steve's accent and the way he speaks.
Yeah, maybe. I know they
Yeah.
had that. It was similar with me though, like Aussie jargon is like just that little bit different. So I was like, what? What? But yeah, no, I think like Aussie and English is very similar as well. So that's probably another reason why I get along with him well, and I understand his jargon and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Just from
similar
my
sense
time.
of humor as well.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, a lot of Steve's way of communicating is through humor. Like, I think
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
his main method of communication.
Yeah. He got an amazing switch though. Like he'll switch from that straight away to like, oh, this is serious now, or
Yeah.
even at the games, man, like I was in like such a bad way. I was like, I'm done, man. I can't. And he was like, he would just coax me into getting to the start mat, and like, yeah, his ability to do that and trick me to actually starting the workout 3 times in a row was like, hats off to him. And I'm super glad. I'm really grateful he did that now, because I couldn't imagine how I'd feel about it if I did just withdraw.
Was that
Um,
how close were you to withdrawing?
Oh, I was done. I thought I was done in the morning. So I hadn't eaten. I couldn't like hold any food down. I was like just not in a
Was it
good
heat
way.
stroke or just a bug or what was it?
No, yeah, heat stroke apparently, but they called it something different over there. It was like heat exhaustion. So I was like, as soon as your body just can't regulate its own temperature.
Okay.
So I could remember like I was in my like room shivering, and then I'd get outside and I was like just thinking I was gonna faint. It was like this really weird thing, like just nauseous and just dizzy and just lots of things like.
And do you
Just,
think that's because you were coming from winter in Australia to, but then you're in Vermont for a month. Like, what is there any
uh,
like? Is there any kind of
um,
understanding of why it happened?
I think what happened to me was I was heavier, so I'd put on a couple of kilos through my time in Vermont, just from like making sure I was eating enough food and stuff. But the week of the games, I got caught up with like a flight delay, so I had like 30 hours of travel
Okay.
to get to thing, which was on the Friday. And I think that I was just dehydrated, malnourished, and sort of got straight in, trained, prepped, and then I think I was just on the burner from the get go. Did the first bike event, come off my bike on the second bend, and then tried to pin it redlined early. Completely fucked myself. I think just like all this like snowball effect of
Yeah.
like everything, maybe a more experienced competitor maybe doesn't make those mistakes or whatever, but I think everything that happened was probably my own doing, not necessarily, but there's only one person that you can point the finger to. It was me, like.
Yeah. And Steve.
And Steve, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, mainly him.
We take that loss together. No,
Yeah.
but
Big
yeah, but
big finger at Steve, little finger at Jake.
yeah.
Um. What? How do you combat though that? Like, so what do you do? So say you qualify. We hope and fully expect you to qualify this year. So what do you do to combat that? Like how? Like you can't go. Like going earlier isn't going to make any difference. So like, what do you do? Do you learn anything from that? Or are you just like, right, that was just a total fuck up of like you say, a snowball effect. So next time, if I'm not feeling good when I get there, just take a day off. Maybe is that like the answer to it? Do you think?
Yeah, maybe part of it, but the other part is just better preparation, I think. Like, I probably needed a different plan moving in, like being my first time going there. And these are all things that I learned after the fact. So, our plan this time is that Ellen and the kids are coming over, and we're going to go straight over after Torian, regardless. Like
Hmm.
I fully believe I can make it back to the games, and that's 100% the goal. But we're going to America regardless after Torian, and we're going to spend some time. And if that means that I'm prepping for the CrossFit Games, or I'm just helping the guys prep for the CrossFit Games, then that's what we'll do. And then after the games, we'll hang for a bit. Maybe might go over to Europe or the UK or anything like that, and maybe try and hit some bigger comps. Sort
That's
of do a
cool.
world tour, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to put any pressure on. Oh, if I qualify, then we're going. It's just like, no, we're going, and I
Yeah.
plan on qualifying. And then we'll probably get to Texas just early, like maybe give us 10 or 12 days in Texas, whereas other guys might only have the week, but that would just let the family get accustomed, and yeah, just let us like plant our feet down a little bit,
Yeah, that's cool. Have you made any changes, like to your training or anything now? Like, is it like have you made any big alterations compared to last year? Say,
Yeah, heaps. So last year, right up until Tori and I followed just the pro track, like
yeah,
on the HWPO app. So I did that, and then I would just, if I had a question, obviously the boys were always available to me. But I did pretty much everything that was written on pro. This year, since the games, it's been like working one-on-one with Steve, which has been massive. Like really nailing down my weaknesses, a little bit more accountability in like sharing my times and scores with him, and then recording, getting some feedback. I think, and
is there a
obviously,
big difference between the pro track and say your current track now? Like, is it vastly different, or is it like little minimal tweaks, kind of?
I think mine would be vastly different because of what I need to work on. Like
Okay,
I believe like 90% of CrossFitters need to get probably stronger and more powerful, whereas like I need to be just more aerobic, leaner. I hardly do any strength work. We might do
yeah,
We might touch a barbell twice a week, you know.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, so I think that's where it's probably different for me. Whereas if it was someone else that had those common things, it would probably be very similar, I would say.
And do you still own the gym?
Yep.
And what's the gym called?
Snake Athletic or Snake CrossFit.
And how involved, or like, are you like a silent owner, or you know what I mean? Are you
No,
close to every
it's
day?
my name, like Snake. But yeah, no, everyone knows it's my gym. I've taken a little bit more of a backward step after going over to the games, or maybe a little bit before that. So I don't coach in person very much. I'm more like, I guess, like a CEO role of it. I would just like talk to the gym manager and the other guys around, and then if they need help coaching or programming or anything like that, then I'll just like step in. But otherwise, it's very much like a tiered system of like those guys handle the gym and I'll help them with their problems.
I think this is it. There was another one that definitely wasn't it. Is this it?
Yep, that's us.
Okay. There was another one that was like all the writing was in Spanish, and I was like, nah, I'm pretty sure this isn't the one he's talking about.
No
Um,
bueno.
yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, it's a nice place.
Yeah, it's huge, man. It's a cool gym.
That's cool. And shit, what were we talking about before that? Oh yeah, so when you were in Vermont, I'm just curious, like, obviously there's been a big shift at HWPO from the outside looking in. Oh, Zach's obviously been there. He's saying it's huge. Well, maybe he's talking about something else. He might be talking about one of your appendages. If so, like, say last year, or coming up to the games, coming into the game season last year, say Mal was there, Jason was there, you were going in, Katrin was going in. Um, it was very much a group training dynamic, and everyone would like live in, like, all this kind of stuff. And now this year seems to have changed to like visits, like people are visiting every so often, but nobody's actually there like training full time all the time. Like Brooke is with HWPO now, but she's in Nashville, and Jason's gone back to Spartanburg, and Katrin kind of comes in and out, but mainly seems to stay. Well, she visited Iceland a bit, but mainly seems to stay in her at home or whatever. You're obviously like, you're not going to visit for a week. I mean, that'd be fucking nuts. But
Yeah.
when you were there, were you like, did you sense that that shift was coming? That it was like, you know what I mean? Like, was it like, were you aware of, oh, there's this crazy facility and it's being built as this like hub, but it feels like we might only be here for a short time and then like going and coming back, sort of thing?
I don't know. I don't know about all that. I feel like we're using it for its purpose, like, and it very much felt like what Matt had envisioned with it. You know, like a group of athletes prepping for the games, all their competitions, and then all right, disperse, go away, like
Yeah. I guess that's
have
what
some
he
young.
used to do. Like, he used to go visit comp train in Ben and then go back to his basement.
Yeah, and that's how it felt. And I think that the dynamic was unreal. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it. I got along with Jason, amazing, like good dude. Like couldn't say a bad word about him. Got along amazing with Katrin. I felt the dynamic in the gym was great, especially how like all the coaches are there all the time, and then they would. I feel like they could sense when it was like, all right, maybe we need to separate the guys now. They're doing too much competing. You know, like it wouldn't be weird for a day for Matt to be like, right, AJ, you're doing this workout over there. Like, go do it. I'll set your clock, and then so Kat wouldn't know my time, or Jay would do something different, and you know, so they would manage us competing that way, and then other times it was like, righto, you know, Shark Tank, let's go. So yeah, I felt like we were using it for what it was designed for. Like it's this amazing place, and it's completely decked out. You couldn't ask for a better facility. And you go in, you use it, and you understand like when you're there, like this is your job, and you're going for it.
That's cool. You used to drink, but you don't drink anymore.
Yep.
How long have you not drank for?
I think 2013 was the last time I drank, like March 2013. So
So
this
like
is like
almost 11 years.
mm.
And is that because Like, did you have a drink problem, or was it just like, this isn't worth it anymore?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say I had a drinking problem. I was just a problem when I was drinking.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed having a lot of drinks. Very much like that footy mentality. Like with the boys, and one wasn't enough, and
Were you like
sorry, one
aggressive,
was
or
either
just you like to drink a lot?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And then
Yeah.
when I realized like it was being counterproductive to what I was actually like, I'd always wanted to be a pro athlete. I always thought I'd make it in rugby or whatever. And when I realized, no, this is actually really counterproductive. Yeah, I stopped drinking for a while, and then after like 3 months, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing it again. Like I just felt great. Didn't do dumb shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the dumb shit you've done. So I remember you told me in I think it was in Madison, and you were like, show me one of your tattoos, and you were just like, yeah, I don't know. I just got it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So things like that, just very irresponsible things that would either lead to like permanent repercussions,
Yeah.
or just things like very out of character for me. If I was drinking, that I would wake up and be like, that's really not me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's interesting.
just aggressive.
I haven't drank in um like 5 years, or 4 or 5 years, I think, as well. Um I think I don't know. I don't see the purpose. I don't see the purpose of drinking if it's not to get drunk. And I think maybe that's where my problem stemmed from, where like I don't drink. Like if someone gave me a beer, I would be like, that tastes delicious. I'd be like, this tastes like shit, but it's gonna get me drunk, so
Yeah,
it's fine. Or like,
yeah,
like I couldn't name a drink. I couldn't name an alcoholic drink that I drink the same way I drink like coffee and be like, oh, that tastes nice. Like I would never have drank an alcoholic drink to be like, oh wow, I can really taste the whatever. I just be like, right, four more of those and I'm fucked. This is cool. And I just like keep going. I think me and you, or you and I, are one of those type of people that is like, you just drink to get drunk though, right? Like that's the purpose of doing it. And then
exactly.
there's other
Yeah,
people who are like, oh, you can really smell the fucking lavender or whatever when they're like sommeliers nearly. Yeah, I don't
yeah.
know.
No, for sure, man. That was 100% it, and it was just I just had enough of it, and I just realized it wasn't me. I didn't think it was pushing me closer to the goals. So if it's not pushing me closer to it, it must be going the other way. So I just put it to bed.
Yeah, it's probably like a type A personality thing or something as well. It's like you're all in, so it's like you're all in on CrossFit, or you're all in on like getting shit faced. Like it's like you
Yeah,
can't.
exactly right. Yeah. As I said, I just didn't have the self control of like, oh, I'll have five and go home. No, it was like I
Yeah.
was being out. If I was out all night. So there's no way
Um,
I wasn't.
when you so like self control and stuff, and that like when you were growing up and when you were playing sport and stuff, were you um like, did that transfer at all to like body image or anything? Were you like, oh, I look the way I look and I'm happy with the way I look? Or like, was there any kind of, because usually like guys that look like you sometimes have like, body dysmorphia, or like if they think they're not big enough or they're not strong enough or whatever. Did you have any of that kind of stuff? Or were you always happy with your physique and stuff?
No, I definitely spent like a lot of years trying to get bigger. And it was purely just because I would be getting ragdolled, like as I said, like always playing like bigger and older men. And as I said, people look at me and they're like, "Oh, you're big." It's like, no, some of the guys I played against were like 130 kilos and could run faster. Hey, where'd that
You
thumbs
get,
up
yeah,
come from?
you give it. So there's a thing on, if you give two thumbs up, you get fireworks. If you put up two thumbs, hang on, in the middle there, it should go. I don't know. Yeah, there you go.
Hey,
It's a thing. Apparently, it's a setting on, not on this application, but actually on your phone, on like FaceTime. You have to. So if you're on a FaceTime call, you can do it as well. If you put up a thumbs up, a little bubble up. There's another one as well, but I can't remember what it is. And love hearts pop up. I think if you do that, maybe, I'm not sure. There's one where love hearts pop up anyway, but I can't remember what it is. And were you, but like psychologically, apart from wanting to get bigger, There was no like psychological like weirdness about yourself or anything. No.
No, I just like thought if I could be bigger, then I wouldn't get hurt as much. So
Yeah, that's fair. It's not yeah, it's not an irrational thought. So the Open is now what, like 3 weeks, 3-ish weeks away. And are you just kind of breezing through
yeah, I
quarterfinals,
don't.
and your main focus is Torian?
Yeah, I don't really want to focus on that. Obviously, quarterfinals, you want to be good seeded rolling into it. But yeah, I think where my engine's at the moment, this should be probably my best Open. I would say, like, I just feel the fittest aerobically I've ever been.
Yeah.
Years gone by, I've probably been a little bit underdone in that energy system. But yeah, I feel great. So I'll be interested to see, the, I guess, carryover. Like I'm a lot better at running now than I ever have been. So it'll just be interesting to see that. Whilst we're not going to test our 5K or our mile in the Open, right? But it'll just be interesting to see how much more that energy system development overall will play a part in it.
Yeah. It might be a 2K roll though. You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Probably like arguably the most competitive Oceania group this year. Like you've got, you know, at least 3 games athletes. So you were there this year, Bailey was there this year, Jay was there this year. You've also got like Yuke de Jong, he's coming back from injury, looks good, and he had a good year, whatever, 2 years ago before before he got injured or whatever. It's going to be fairly like cutthroat. Like there's not going to be too much room for a misstep, really.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily who, how do you say this? I don't know whether it's going to be who has the best events. I think it's going to be who has the worst event,
Oh yeah,
who's
yeah.
going to, yeah, if you shit the bed or you, you have a poor performance in one workout that you should have, that was a soft pitch down the middle, then that's probably going to be your downfall. Like I think every single person in there has the ability to win events, which makes our region really interesting. And then you also got Ricky there as well, and
Yeah.
there's lots of like you look at Rick and Jay, like there's lots of points tied up just there with what they're good at.
Yeah. And then you throw you and Bailey in, and then, but it's even like speaking to I forgot about Ricky actually. Yeah, it's a fucking rough.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? Like we've got like 4 guys inside the top 50 in the worldwide rankings.
Yeah,
In
and you still only
CrossFit's
get
worldwide.
like
crazy.
3 spots.
Yeah, and we got 4 inside the top 50, not even at the top 100.
It'd be interesting to see, because
wild.
I know on the female side, I believe they can get an extra spot on the female side, because if Jamie Green and Emily DeRoy and Cara Saunders take the Open and the quarterfinals seriously, they can earn an extra spot for girls, for individuals. So it'd be interesting to see if it's possible on the men's side. Now, I don't think there's anybody opting out to go team, but still, if you guys perform to your capabilities in Open and quarterfinals, it'd be interesting to see if there is an extra spot available.
Yeah, I couldn't find the actual like the top 200, but I feel like Pete Ellis and Will Kearney are like really
They're there or
close.
thereabouts. Yeah, they should be there or thereabouts. Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
I mean, it's interesting. As I said, I remember seeing that thing you're talking about. And it was like if there's 6 girls within the top 100, it should get another spot.
yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's cool. 4 in the top 50 though makes mathematically sense. So I don't know.
It's it is crazy. And like I was talking to Grace yesterday, and she like say last year at Torian, she had really good finishes, like, top 5, top 7, whatever. And then just the one outlier of whatever it was, 27, 29, just fucked her and thought like, there's no way you can come back. And it's the same in the guy side. You're more than likely looking at Ricky and Jay, like no disrespect to you, but they're going to trade firsts and seconds in a lot of events. So then it's like, right, out of you and Bailey, and like how many points can you steal from them? Like how many events can you surpass them and take one of those first and seconds that they would otherwise trade? And then how do you separate yourself from 5th sixth, seventh, eighth in the top 10 when the dust settles? Like how much of a gap can you leave behind yourself, and then how much can you close the gap that's in front? Because like, you know, Ricky's just one of the best in the world at the minute. Like he's like just absolutely destroying it, and the improvements that Jay has made in the last 12 months are fucking insane. So it's
Yeah,
just
man.
getting
Yeah,
harder and harder every time.
yeah, that's right. And then don't count Bailey out either. Like
Yeah,
he's got some real weapons, man. Like he's got really good finishes. Like he can win events.
yeah. Well,
So
he
there's
had his best season to
yeah,
date last year. So it's like he's on the up. But, you know, it's like there's no. It's and it's like it sounds ridiculous because of like Ricky just won Wadapalooza, but like if he fucks up an event or if he fucks up two events, he's out. Like, do you know, it's crazy that how
yeah.
cutthroat it's going to be.
Because like we were talking about this the other day, and it's like all those four guys, I guess they're like that people are talking about now, like me, Rick, Jay, and Bailey. Like we can all beat each other in events.
Yeah.
So it's like who comes between? Like it's going to be who we like
Yeah,
exactly as you
people are
said.
going to need favors, and they're also going to need, like you say like Grace's 29th from last year, whatever. You're going to need your worst place is going to still have to be a top 12, top 10. Like that's basically the logic you have to use of like my worst has to still be better than most people.
Yeah, and we've also got the extra 10 people in our thing now,
Yeah.
which like doesn't necessarily affect the podium, but what it does affect is like if they're, let's say that out of the top 40 guys that now make it instead of 30, if two of those guys are like weightlifting specialists,
Yeah. Or aerobic
and
freaks or something. Yeah.
all of a sudden, like if I still win that and two of them come in between me, and that could be huge.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
you know,
crazy.
so it's just yeah, it's wild to think.
It's cool. Yeah, it's funny. Like there was such a period of time where it was like, oh, there's kind of not much really happening, and now even though it's still so far away, I'm like, fuck, semi-finals are going to be epic.
Yeah, and like it fires me up though. Like I'm so glad that we do have a competitive region. Doesn't matter how many people we get, you know, like at the end of the day, the best three guys or four guys or whoever make it, they're making it. So if I didn't make it because those guys beat me, then like kudos to them. Like they earned it. And then if I make it, I'm going, then it's like I can be proud of myself. You know, I'm happy that we've got a competitive region. Nothing pissed me off more than hearing like I backdoored it this year.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Is that just because Ricky wasn't there, you think?
I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, that, and then like talking about like certain events or having the heavy snatch and things like that. So it's like, yeah, like I want our region to be competitive, and yeah, I want us to really fight for it.
Do you pay attention to stuff like that though? Like when you hear like say
Nah,
pundits
not
or
much.
whatever.
That was actually sent to me, and yeah, it did piss me off because it was like I've been in this sport for a long time, and like I've had two finishes outside of the top 10 in like 2 years in our region, and then it's like, oh, he backdoored it because Ricky didn't make it. It was like,
Yeah.
fuck.
Do you ever get sent?
Or
Do you ever get sent positive stuff? Like, do you ever get sent clips of like someone saying like, "Oh, Jake Douglas is a fucking beast. He's amazing." Would anyone ever send you that, or you only get sent the shit?
literally get sent to shit. So, but I don't like if you live for that stuff, you'll die by that stuff. So, like, I'm not too fussed about the applause. As I said, like, I'm not really a beat my chest kind of guy. I just like, I'm happy to do my best, and if it's good, then that's cool, and we'll move on from it. And if I have shit the bed on an event, then it is what it is, and we'll just move on from it as well, you know.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, look, I'll let you go. And by the sounds of things have gotten very quiet, so I'm assuming you've missed bedtime, or you're about to walk into bedtime, one or the other.
I don't know. I might be about to stir him up. You know what that dad effect is, right at bedtime. So,
Yeah. It's one of those. There's a period. It's kind of like a twilight period. For us, it's when like our son is having his bottle, and then you're like, you've been playing up until that point, and you're like, all right, guys, like we need to calm the fuck down. It's like everyone just like stop, like just calm down. And then like my daughter's usually like, oh, but we're having so much. Like, yeah, but not anymore. Like not anymore.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like when I walk in the room, their energy just starts like
bubbling up. But you're like, yeah, we're just gonna like what I actually started doing recently was I brushed my daughter's teeth downstairs. and I started playing a game with her where I carry her up, like in her head, it's a great game where I carry her up like a baby, and she, like cradle her,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then like
yeah.
just like place her into bed. In my mind, it's like this traps her because now she can't like run away when we get upstairs or whatever. So I have to carry her like this. She's pretending to be a baby, so she's pretending to be asleep. And then I just like put her into bed and I'm like, all right, good night. And in her head, she's like, oh, that was such a fun game. And in my head, I was like, fuck yes, I won. And I got her into bed like with no arguments, nothing, because she was a baby when I was carrying her up. So if you can figure out those
Yeah,
kind
you
of
know what
games.
my problem is like I'll do that and then I'll get her in there and I'm like, all right, one little tickle, and then it's like I fucked it.
Yeah.
Now she's like up and keen, she's running out of the room. So
Yeah, you're your own worst enemy. I want to say as well, congrats on geez, you've had a big year with sponsors and shit like Rad, the wildlife there. That was announced like last week. You're with like Frog, you're with everyone. Like it's remarkable.
yeah, I'm like honestly, man, I'm really grateful for it as well. Like probably my age and things like that don't really bode well sometimes for
Yeah.
those conversations of like most people you feel like they're looking for like the younger, the up and comer or whatever. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I've got a great agent. Shout out to Cooper. Like Cooper Marsh is like unreal, man. Um, and yeah, I feel like he's just like he's really helped me along, and we've been able to tell my story a little bit better, and that's like people are for it, you know. Like I think people want to help out and see like the old boy get there one more time.
I think as well though, your age demographic or our age demographic probably has the most disposable income. So it makes sense. It doesn't, like in my mind, it doesn't make sense for people to sign a 19-year-old because 19-year-olds aren't buying shit. Whereas if you sign like someone in their like early 30s, that's the age group where people are like that person's peers are the people that are spending money on shoes and shit, not the 19-year-old. Because the 19-year-old is like, Mom, can I have like
Yeah,
$150 for a pair of shoes, please?
yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, maybe that's right. I'm not sure. I just as I said, I don't know why we've gotten I guess the attention that we've gotten, but like I'm really grateful for it, and it's helped me provide for my family, and you know we make a great lifestyle out of this stuff at the moment. It's cool that I can do it and look at it as a profession, and yeah, it's all the things that I always wanted to do with the sport.
Yeah, it's cool, man. You can be humble and say I don't know why I've gotten the attention, but I think everyone knows why you've gotten the attention. You had a remarkable year. Like it didn't end the way you wanted it to in Madison, but a remarkable year, remarkable. Um, making it to the games is making it to semifinals is crazy. Making it to the games is fucking nuts. So even if it didn't go the way you want, I'm sure this year you'll have you know, you'll get your what you deserve, I suppose. And yeah, thanks for coming on. It's been great to get to talk to you a bit more, and congrats on everything, and best of luck with the season. I'm excited to see what you can do.
No worries, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's awesome that you get to give the athletes a voice and let people kind of meet us, I guess.
Oh, I forgot. Happy Valentine's Day.
Ah, it is. I didn't forget. I did not
Yeah. Oh
forget. I
no, I
killed
didn't. I
it.
didn't forget. I just forgot to say anything to you about it. Um, yeah, I didn't forget. I'm gonna have to go and buy something now in a few minutes. Um, I'm sure you're the same with your daughter. My son, not like I'm not even gonna like. I might tell him I love him. But my
Yeah, no,
daughter,
absolutely.
if I don't make a fuss with her, forget it.
Yeah, no, I get Ellen and Frankie the same gift though, because it's like, you know, then she
Yeah,
feels special. That's cute.
you're the women in your life. Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, for the day that's in it, I love you, Jake. Congrats on everything you've achieved, and enjoy your year. Thanks for everyone for listening. And tonight, so the audio, this is on YouTube now. Obviously, the audio for this is going to come out next Wednesday, Spotify and stuff. And then anyone that missed yesterday can watch back Grace Walton, or you can listen to it on Spotify and stuff in about 20-ish minutes when I get it uploaded. And then in uh 10 hours around the whiteboard debate semi-final with John Young, Brian Spin, and Jason CF Media. And we're going to talk about, is 4 years long enough for a drug ban, or should it be longer or less? And we're going to talk about, should there be a central library of movement for CrossFit, because there isn't. And we're going to talk about, if there's cuts at the games, should the programming reflect the fact that there's cuts? As in, before Jake was cut this year, should it have been an all inclusive perfect test of fitness? And then if there's more cuts, should the next stage be all inclusive? So yeah, that's the crack. You can join in for that. Thanks, Jake.